All right, what's going on, everybody? Chris Franks with Texas West Capital. We're coming at you live, guys, just after 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on Friday, the 14th of March, halfway through the month, y'all. Coming up on the end of the first quarter, 2025. How are y'all doing? Are you surviving? Are you? I hope so, because Lord knows if you listen to social media, this is going to beat you down. Oh man, I don't know how you guys do it. I'm not a big fan of it. But anyway, hey, listen, I finally got Fibbo back with us, guys. He's finally come out of hiding. Now that the snow is gone up there, I think he's able to function now. No, I'm just kidding. But he is back today, guys. I know you guys have been patient. We appreciate that. But before we jump on here, guys, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up, hit the like, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, please. Share the link. Share the link here, guys. We're going to have a lot of information coming on here that we're going to share with you, charts and whatnot. And as you know, Fibbo always brings it when he does. Now, before I bring him on, I just want to tell you guys, if you haven't heard yet, our group coaching, you can get it on there at TexasWestCapital.com. It's $97 a month right now. We are going to add in live trading in 2 weeks. So it should be 2 Mondays from now. What this is going to be a short-term trading on the MES, which is the micro E-minis for the S&P. With that, I'm going to use a prop account, and we're going to talk about how to use prop accounts, how to trade them properly, because it's a lot different than your normal trading, guys. But we're also going to be taking live trades. The goal is to get at least 1 or 2 trades during that hour that we're trading there. And so to that extent, I've told our group coaching students here that, that we're going to be doing that. And so I talked to them yesterday about a trade I took, made a few $100 on it, just 3 contracts. Took 2 trades today, guys. While I was doing all my work here this morning, right? Took 2 trades here. These are you see them on here. So right here, I took a short, and this one got me about 12.5 points on that. And then I think I got about 36.5 on this one right here. All total, it was about $187.50 was the profit on the short, and then $505 or so was the profit on the long. That's short, by the way, and I posted the screenshots of the entries and exits in the system. That short was like about 35 seconds. So yeah, I got in right before it broke down there. But the other one took a little bit longer. The other one took about 45 minutes. But again, it's 45, 46 minutes on the day, and just 3 contracts, very small, right? That's just very small, and still made, almost $700. And so if you want to be a part of that and you're not in with us, join us, okay? TexasWestCapital.com. Do it now with the prices about to go up because we are adding this live trading in there. But beyond that, you get all the education about how and why markets move the way they do, which is really what I focus on in proper risk management, as well as everything we talk about when it comes to emotions and psychology of trading. I mean, guys, I'm not here just to teach you, one way to trade and that's it. We're here to get you to become real traders, understanders of the markets, okay? But also, of course, you get, as we're about to pull a Fibbo here, you get access to Fibbo and his group as well, where he's going to teach you his system, his threshold theory. And he, of course, updates, each day his longs and his shorts, his positions, whatever he's doing with all that as well. So, the amount of value is insane. We've got, I know we've said over 300 hours for a while. We have to have well over 500 hours of educational content by now. So, listen, guys, I'm telling you, if you really want to learn how to trade, you really want to do it right, that's how you do it. If you think you want to be a scalper, notice this chart is the 1-minute time frame. That's what I'm trading. When you guys come in with the live trading, that's what we'll be trading. This is real scalping, but there's a specific way that you need to approach it if you want to have success like this, okay? Again, this is only 3 contracts. It was only 3 contracts, made $700 in 45 minutes today, 46 minutes. You can't beat that, guys. All right? So anyway, jump in there, get on it as quick as you can. That way you get in before the price goes up and you get in there and jump in there with us. So that being said, let me go. Where is Fibbo? Where are you, buddy? You over here somewhere? There you are. Hey, there he is.
What's up?
I'm sure
I'm
everybody's
back.
excited, man. Yeah, I'm sure everybody's excited that you're back. I know they give me hell when you don't show up. They act like it's my fault, like I've got you kept in a closet or in a basement somewhere. And
Yeah. You bring me out every once in a while.
But yeah. So anyway, hopefully you're doing well, man. I know the snow's finally gone up there, right?
Oh yeah, no, it's been warm the last couple of weeks, so that's been pretty nice.
Define warm, because you're Kentucky. Define warm.
Oh no, it's been we've had mid-70s as highs, so it's been pretty nice.
All right, we had,
and this is a good time of year too because it's less humid. When it gets, you know how summer gets, especially where you're at.
We have pre-summer, pre-summer.
Yeah,
summer
exactly.
1, summer 2.
Yeah. You shower and get ready. You walk outside. You drip. You go back in and shower again.
That's why I don't go outside anymore. It's just easier that way. But anyway, man. So title of today's show, and it's funny because everybody's been talking about that 70,000. And actually, the thumbnail that I used for it is the exact same one you and I used back when we were going up to 70,000 back in like August or something like that last year.
Nice.
So kind of interesting that we're looking at it the other way now. And I know you've been, you continue to be bullish, like myself. Excuse me. Always talking about more along the macro, right? Like neither one of us believes the top is in at the moment, but I also know you get a lot of hell with that from the shorter term noise and social media out there right now. So I'll tell you what, man, let's go and do this. Let's go ahead and pull up your chart here. And you can let people know what you're thinking. And let me see if I can make us a little bit better here so we get our ugly faces out of there and they can see the chart a little better.
Yeah, I apologize for my camera angle today. The sun is so bright right now. This is the only angle I have. So if I look up this way, don't think I'm like, kind of crazy. But, I think it'll be all right. But I think because I feel like really close to the camera right now, but it is what it is. I'm going to definitely start out with Bitcoin and go through a few charts on the different time frames. I was hoping that I messaged you earlier, Chris, that I might be buying right before the show starts at the 12 o'clock hour here. But it did not click bull zone, as you can see right here. Since we were getting this big, large green candle here, I thought maybe we get enough to push us into the bull zone and be able to buy it. But now we got to wait another 4 hours and see if it's going to do it or not. But we'll
missed it by that much.
Yeah, exactly. But the way I'm approaching this at the moment, when you look at the 4 hour, went into the bear zone right here, kind of dipped down, rallied all the way up on this kind of a false kind of move here, because it did not go back into the bull zone. So it just continued the trend to the downside. Now I had two targets in here that I had buys in that I was really kind of buying to form a foundational, kind of a start to where I would feel to kind of get that reversal averaged in kind of price before we would rally back up. And the only reason I was doing that is, and I'll show you that on the weekly, was that my weekly shallow fib and bear and bull zone was kind of right on that support. So by buying into the 4 hour and the daily, kind of backing that truck up a little bit and using some of that dry powder and buying some, I'm trying to build that foundation, and then I'm going to add and press my position if this thing will start to flip the bull, and giving us a test in patience every day. But right now it's trying again, but it could be just another thing like this, where it doesn't ever go bear again and it could start to come back down. However, the first target was hit. So on this previous threshold, the 200% here was at 79,773. I had a limit order in at 79,775, which of course got filled. And of course it went a lot further on the next few hours on the candles here. And then my next target was just inside the fib extension zone, which comes back from a way back when, previous threshold break right there, is where that kind of falls into play, which has not been hit yet. So right now I'm only long my first tranche there at 79,775. I do not have a take profit on that yet because I'm waiting for the bull zone, and then I'll look at the price action to figure out where to set that. But again, if it comes down to this target here and ends up buying again while we're in the bear zone, which I'm hoping that it doesn't, but if it does, I'm going to dollar cost average it in here. And then the stop for both of those would be 3 settles underneath this right here, which typically would probably start to bring in a lot of bearishness on the weekly. And we really don't want that to break. And I'll show you why here in a minute. And hopefully it won't break and everything's starting to kind of reverse. So that's the 4 hour, nothing really special on it. The only thing I noticed so far with this move to the upside right here, it kind of did on this move here. It did cross right here, but the ADX stayed really low. Right now, the green positive directional index has, with this latest move to the upside, has been enough to push us on this crossover. And the ADX right now is at 26. So it's actually still above 25, which now that crossed, that's a good like early signal that you're starting to get a little bit more support in the market. So now this next candle, hopefully we keep going to the upside and hit that bull zone so we can buy it at the market and get this thing going. And a lot of people will ask me, well, why don't you buy it now on this move to the upside with that crossover? It's one of those things that I got to stick to the system versus trying to front run it. Because many times I've tried that in the past and it eats you alive. So I'm a little bit more conservative on waiting for that signal that I like to see that helps me determine at a high probability that the trend is actually starting to, get some feet behind or, starting to climb on that interest to buy. So I'm kind of going to wait that out and see if this next 4 hour candle is going to kick in or not. So right now it's still looking pretty good. So we'll see where this next candle takes us. But that's 4 hour. Onto the daily. A few things I'm looking at on here. Definitely bear zone on this too, and went to the downside. My target on this one was at 78,344. I had a limit order in at 78.4, and I actually bought a couple tranches. I bought more there because that's right at that edge on the weekly on that support. So I was willing to put a lot more exposure in right away. And then again, if it gets 3 settles underneath this 61.8% level, that would be my stop. And then it would just really open up a lot of stuff that we really don't want to mess with. So let's just keep the buying interest going and not worry about it. But the target hit, and we've had some buying, and again, we've been testing this resistance up here. This is the 233 EMA. I use fib numbers. I know you'll see a lot of people kind of talking about the 200 moving average and that. Nothing wrong with that if it works with their system. I'm just a fib guy, so I like to look at Fibonacci numbers when it comes to the moving averages. So when you look up here at the 233, that's my resistance. We were kind of in this support here when we went into the new bull zone here. Kind of popped up, came down and retraced as a full retracement, but held on the moving average. And rallied up since then. But since this broke down right here, it was a slight concern. Don't get me wrong. Because it was getting underneath the 200-day. So I was, I'm sticking to my system, of course, and buying where the target said to buy, which is so far looking pretty good. This latest green candle looks nice, pushing up through that 233 for sure. So it's another signal that I kind of like, along with the 4 hour crossing on some of these indicators. We're starting to get some early signals that maybe this is going to start to grow some feet and start climbing this mountain that we need to climb to get out of here. But another thing that I was looking at, and I don't know how much this is really, technical analysis or not, but one thing that I was looking at, and I had these little circles down here, I was looking at every time it went underneath the 233 on the percentage move underneath, it really doesn't spend a lot of time underneath it. If even though right here it didn't have 3 settles underneath. This one had 1, 2. There was 3 settles underneath here, but then it kicked back up. So that was kind of a little bit of a false signal that I like to look at. And then there was another one here that went down. And then even when you go back in history and you look at some of these, I was starting to look at it like just the drawdowns underneath. You were getting like an 11, like when it finally broke above it is what I was kind of looking at. And then it broke back down below. You had like 11%, 7%. And then all these other ones have not been real, I think this one was like 11%. I mean, we could look, but like I'm just taking it from the moving average to the bottom there. Well, this one was 15% on the wick. But if you went to where it was there, it's about 7%. So there's not a lot going on there. And this was kind of the same thing when you look at it from over here, just kind of taking it from the moving average area to where we're at. We had a little bit of like a 8% down. So all of these are like 7, 8, 9% kind of drawdowns underneath the moving average. I don't know how much that really means, if it means anything at all. But given that it's still kind of at the same realm that a lot of these kind of did before it kind of reversed, I kind of like this coming back above here to kind of, because I was reading out on X, a lot of people was talking about, man, look at this resistance at the 200. I get it. And that it was definitely resistance, but I'm hoping that this move today and getting into that 4-hour bull zone would kind of negate some of this and kind of get us rocking and rolling. So that's just one thing I was looking at there. But target, same kind of thing on this one. I don't have a take profit yet. I'm just building a foundation. So if it goes back into the bull zone, I'm going to press the position and buy more. And then once that happens, I'll look at the price action, figure out where those targets are going forward. So I'm just going to leave my stops as, those 3 settles underneath those major levels. And then, of course, if that happens, it's going to be back to the drawing board because it's going to be pretty bearish if that happens. And I'll show you why here on the weekly. There's a lot going on in this chart, and just so bear with me here. I'm going to start out with the actual zones here. Going from this bear move here, and then we broke into the bull zone, broke the trend line, and then worked its way back down, kind of retested it, and then started to take off from there. Just taking the furthest point underneath the trend line to the trend line itself, take that same rate of change, and it kind of tests the 61.8% level just above it, and it rallied up here and hit the target right here on this candle, came back down, and then it finally broke. But then when it retraced here, it retraced right back to that point as support, and then which created this kind of nice trend line here.
Yeah.
But as we went into the bull zone here, every one of these retracements are right around this, just above going into the bear zone here. So you saw it here, and then again right here,
which ends up being right around the 44% level. That was that thing that I posted on Twitter as well. Nice.
Yeah, exactly. So a couple of things I was looking at on all of these levels down here. When you look at the let me just pull up when you look at the high here all the way down to where the low hit, you're let me get the low in here. I'm lagging. There we go. Well, something's happening here. What in the hell's going on? It won't let me hit there we go. So right there is a 33%, drop from the high down to the low here. And then it hit right at this level on support, hit on this trend line, which you kind of could have drawn one there, but not really great. But with that one holding and taking off, now this line's looking really good as a support guide going forward. And then the same thing when you look over here, if you take the high here, I think the high's right there, and then the low so far is right there. So you're looking at a 30% drop, which is nice. So you got a 33% drop here, a 30% drop here to the trend line, and it's basically finding that same support in the bull zone, keeping the bullish structure there going forward, which I like to see. And then a couple of other things I saw on here. I mean, this one over here was only like I think there's like a 20% one right here. So it wasn't quite 30, but it was still another deal where we went into the bull zone and retraced back. And it was, that first support start going forward on this bull move. So that was one thing I was looking at there. Now I got these little trend lines here with the little breaks, trend line break and then a trend line break. One of the things I was looking at there was I'm taking the trend-based extension off of these, and right where that breaks to the upside to the high, I'm just taking the trend-based extension. So just looking at this as the next kind of leg. If this ends up holding here and breaks this trend line to the upside, you're looking at, let me see if I get where the hell are the arrows anymore? There we go. Take the, let me move this right here, go to the trend line. I think this is probably the furthest point. And then you take that same rate of change at the break point.
Yeah.
And that would be your, and a lot of these are always kind of minimum targets. So if you're actually trading the trend line break and there's 3 settles above it and you buy it, and that would be your take profit target on that. And then you could do it again here. It's probably just a little shorter. The magnet's a little messy. Let me see here. Let me pull this. The magnet messes me up sometimes. Oh,
that's why I don't use it.
Yeah, let me just pull it out like that. Pull this down to there. Pull that up to there. There we go. So now when you take this one, if this trend line finally breaks to the upside, I don't know where it will be, but you can go all the way across this line. So you can go all the way to where this intersection is right here. Not that it would take that long, but if it went all the way to that point before breaking out, you're looking at 134 to 140. But then if it broke out right now, like if it just kept cranking today and got way up here, which I don't think that's going to happen, but anywhere between the breakout point right here to where it hits about 140, and then all the way down to the kind of the bottom of this fib extension range of 134. And again, these are minimums. It could go higher than that if and when it breaks this trend line to the upside, going forward there. So that's some just little guides that I'm watching. And then another thing I have on here is the 55 EMA, which is also a support point. So you got my shallow fib based on my threshold from starting here on the new bull zone. So you start the fib here, go to the high. So the 38.2 or that shallow fib is right there around that 75.3, which is why I'm buying the 4-hour and the daily all around those mid 75 areas to get that support in there, and hopefully buying at a good dollar cost average before heading higher. So you got the shallow fib as support, you got the EMA as support, you got the trend line as support, you even got this trend-based extension as support. So, or not that one, but another one I had on here. But you have a whole bunch of different support levels in here that should be bringing in buying interest. You also have, the bull zone remaining. You did cross up here on the red negative directional index on this move to the downside. But the ADX is still dropping here. So this one right here needs to change a little bit. But we'll kind of see if this, continues to push. And then at the end of this week, if this candle ends up where it's at, it's going to switch it based on math. So it'll bring it into a little bit more of a bullish look if we can get a settlement above this. Now, there's a couple other things on here I'm also looking at. This moved on me. Let me move this over here. Must have messed with it when I was messing with the magnet. This high here to the low, when I look at these extensions between 83 and 91, that's that first line of defense of when this broke out. This should have been where the first line of defense of where the trend should have stopped or could have stopped before reversing, but it broke straight through, came back down and retested a bunch of times, went back up and made a slightly new high, came back down, tested again, bounced up, but now it's back down below it. So now what I'm going to look for, which would be my first red flag, would be 3 consecutive weekly settlements underneath this 83.5. that would be like, okay, that's not good kind of thing. But hopefully with this week, we'll get back up into that zone and settle this next candle back above 83.5 for the week. And then that would negate the 3 consecutive candles that we would need. You'd have to kind of restart that. So that right there would also be another signal that support is also holding. So I got a lot of things in here that's saying, hey, support's holding. So hopefully all of that confluence together means something. So let's hope that we get a lot of buying interest coming off of this based on what I'm seeing here. So that's another thing I'm kind of looking at.
Right now, you just have the one close below for the weekly, right? Last week's?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And then this
so
week,
if it were to close below today, it'd be two weeks, and then you
we need the third
in a row.
Yep.
Okay.
And there's a little pocket right here. So that definitely could be an issue. And we could still be testing this trend line, staying down in these low 70 possibilities. Now we haven't really got all the way to the shallow fib, which is fine. I mean, that's great. I don't really buy off of the weekly. I usually buy off I trade the 4 hour and the daily, but I definitely use this as a guide to help me in my positioning for my 4 hours of my daily based on how much I want to be exposed and all that kind of stuff. And that's why I kind of went a little bit heavier on the daily, just because we're at a really good support point. And so the risk reward there is really good to get in at this point in time. Because if it drops and I get stopped out, I'll lose a little bit, and then we can reestablish a new low and try to figure out where to go from there. But another thing that I was looking at here was the if this ends up staying and holding the support on this one right here, whenever the 122 has always been kind of the target with as long as the support holds, and so far the support's still holding. So this 122.488 right here is the 200% extension, has always been kind of the target. But the interesting thing is if you look at this trend-based extension from where we're at the moment, the 100% here matches up pretty nicely. I mean, we're only talking about about $100 difference between the 100% on this next move. So the next target for me, as long as the support continues to hold here, I still think that 122 is a target to watch for as a minimum, later on in this year. I still think we're going to get higher by October, November of this year. If this support holds and we get some momentum behind this and things start to kick going again, I wouldn't be surprised to see 190 to 210 as a possible high in October, November. But that's a very very macro picture. But one step at a time is let's build the support first, and then go forward from there. So a lot going on this weekly, but this is one of the things that I use as a major guide of when things break and when they don't, because these are big primary trends. Because this big primary trend here started to retrace back, then it went into the bear zone right here, kind of retraced back up and tried to break back above it, but then went south. And then when it went bull, it's gone bull. And until it tells me to go south again, I'm going to be buying it and keeping this bullish structure in play. So that's the weekly. And then just real quick on the monthly here. I mean, this is just not much on this one, but it's more along the lines of that same kind of thing I was kind of talking about here on a monthly basis. Just looking at the support point right here, where last month settled just above it. We're kind of right there on this little doji candle here, right at the edge of the support point. So if this is a key support zone, and of course, if this ends up breaking, you're looking at much lower pricing. Even on the weekly, if this shallow fib and this trend line breaks to the downside, I mean, you're looking at some 50s and 60s as your target, to the downside. So let's not. I mean, if it happens, I'll have my dry powder and I'll be ready to buy more. But I kind of went in pretty good on where we're at. So let's get out there and start buying.
Do your part.
Do your part. No, I'm just kidding. But this leaves open that zone to that 122 on the monthly too. And I'm just looking at it from, once we broke this high, you had the extensions that should be that first line of defense, but it said nah and just took off. And then we had the 3 settles even on a monthly basis above the 91. So that kind of really put a much higher probability that the 122 should hit before the support breaks. So I mean, it's a much, much larger picture, but I just wanted to kind of show it in a nice clean look versus trying to see it here on the weekly with all the same. It's the same numbers. It's just looking at it from, well, not quite the exact same numbers because the monthly has a different open and close and those kind of things, but pretty daggone close. But just say 122. What among friends? What's a few $100, you know? So there's the 122 is still that minimum target for me later on this year. I was hoping to see the 122 in the first quarter, which we still could. First quarter, or not first quarter, but
well, all right, man. It's 15 days, man.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Things have happened.
You never know. You never know. Man, I'd be so happy if it went to 122 in the next 2 weeks. I'd be like, told you it was going to hit that in the first quarter. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You'd make a shirt, wouldn't you?
No. I'd be humble. I'd be humble about it. But that's it for Bitcoin. Do you got anything you want to add to this? You want me to keep
No,
going?
I mean, really, the only thing I really want to mention was the fact that on the weekly, you know, I posted on Twitter there that you know, the weekly on the previous two multi-month pullbacks we'd had, you know, was coming to that 44 level, and that's where we are right now, and we're trying to get that bump up from there. So other than that, the only other thing I'm going to say for that is,
when you say 44 level, what do you mean?
44 on the RSI.
RSI level, okay.
Yeah, the RSI, the 45 level there.
Okay, on the RSI, I got you.
Yeah. And so they, you know, the previous two times where we had this, you know, 6-8 month pullbacks, you know, sideways, that's where they hit. And that's just like right there around your bull zone low. And so, but I did see that and I'm like, okay, so that's looking pretty good. Other than that, I've kind of looked at my account and said, okay, well, what if we go by this understanding that Bitcoin usually, except for last time where it had the double top, right? In cycles, it usually has a blow off top. So we've got basically what appears to be 4 waves up, and then we have this extra wave up, which could be a wave 5, but you know, again, we're banking on the side that we're going to get further upside. So what if that move from that you know, that 49,000 level, what if that move up to the all-time high is a wave 1 of 5? So if that's a wave 1 and the pullback is a wave 2 now at that 79,000, and people may not want to hear this, but that gives us 5 waves up at 365.
Yep. No, I hear you. And,
so,
and,
I mean,
and when you look at the fib level here,
yeah.
when you look at just this leg right here, I mean, the 61.8% level is at 72.
Yep.
So there's some support there also. So yeah, no, I like it. But yeah, that could be a wave 1. I mean, because this is retracing down to close to that 61.8% level, which is a good sign for a wave to hit nicely on those fib levels. So that definitely could be. I wouldn't put that out of.
I'm not saying I'm not guaranteeing it's going to happen.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Listen, you know, for folks that are listening in, you know, it's
a huge macro look.
And so you don't want to be surprised if it does get up there and you were like, oh, I know it could do that. Well, maybe. Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. We'll continue to work with the count as the time goes on. But right now, you know, we got to leave that in as a possible 1-2, and 5 waves up get you up there. And that's without any overextension, right? That's just wave 3 hitting the 1618, wave 4 pulling back to the 100, wave 5 hitting the 200. That's our normal, you know, extensions and pullbacks that we have for the 3, 4, and 5. So now if they were to overextend, who knows? Maybe people's crazy numbers of 400,000 and 500,000 at the beginning of this cycle or near that time, maybe it ends up coming out. I'm not willing to just throw all my money in there and say, oh, I'm going to just sit there until it does, but definitely something worth watching. Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm with you. And another thing I was just looking at when you're talking about that, when you're talking about this level down here, when you look back here, and it actually dipped down and just touched the bottom of that bull zone. You did wick down below the moving average a few times, but did not break, and then ended up going up to a new high. But then again, when you look at here, when it finally clicked down, then you had 3 settles underneath the moving average. Now we had 3 settles. No, it didn't. It went 1, 2, and then 3 back below. So that signal right there going into the bear zone and then rallied up right here. I mean, it didn't go into the bull zone, but it ended up going to the downside. So when you go out into the future here and you keep looking, there's 3 settles right here. underneath this, but there wasn't a lot of momentum at all down here. But then again, it was holding. So again, you held here at these little bit of levels, and then right here, it's also holding right there. So this was an interesting time right here where it actually went down and touched while it was trying to break here, but we're finding buying interest before it actually wicks down below the moving average. So to me, that's actually another little bit of a signal that's a good spot that's bringing people in with a little bit more confidence to go along the market. Yeah. So that's a good thing. So, all right, enough of Bitcoin. Let's go on to Ethereum.
Can never have enough of Bitcoin.
Huh?
Can never have enough of Bitcoin, man.
Well, I can go on forever on Bitcoin, but let's talk some other charts.
Well, let's talk about what people hate, Ethereum, right?
Let's go with Ethereum. I am personally not trading this right at the moment, but I'm sure there might be people in my group that are. Because I got back from vacation and I had pretty much a clean slate, and I just went to Bitcoin, and I've been so busy in the energy markets. Tariffs on, tariffs off, tariffs on, tariffs off. So I've been kind of busy doing all that, but so I've been kind of leaning just toward Bitcoin at the moment, and some SPY and some gold I've been trading, but I haven't really done a lot of the shit coins. Altcoins. But given that, we went into the bear zone here, went down, came back up, and retested pretty much at the point when it went into the bear zone. And worked its way down. Now, the first level I had was 1759.72, which the target hit. So if anybody was in my group and had the limit order in there, they would have got filled. But then while being into the bear zone, the shallow fib becomes the resistance or the take profit level. If you want to trade it while in the bear zone, or you could do what I was doing in Bitcoin and establishing a good foundation of a good dollar cost average and waiting for that bull zone. But then again, if you wanted to trade it, you would trade it by selling out at the shallow fib and then rebuying lower targets. So if you did buy this, you actually hit the target at the shallow fib, and you would have just been trading it, and then you'd be waiting for the next target would be down here in the inside this 141 or the 127 to 141 zone here. And that was between 1527 and 1607 if it wants to continue to the downside. Now, you got to kind of leave that open because we're still in the bear zone. Momentum is still favoring the bears, not as much, but it's still favoring on them. And then, but then again, when it comes to going into the bull zone for this one, the way this is structured is kind of weird. And another reason why I'm not buying Ethereum right now on the 4-hour and the daily is because the Ethereum weekly is in the bear zone, unlike Bitcoin. So that kind of leaves me away from buying the 4-hour and the daily until we get back into a bull zone on the weekly to get me more comfortable. But what's going to happen is even on this 4-hour, if it goes back into the bull zone, which is at 2066, if it gets back above that, unfortunately, even if it gets into the bull zone, you have to have 3 consecutive settles above the previous shallow fib that hasn't been broken yet. So even when it went into the bull zone right here on this little bit of green right here, let me move this over so I'll show you what I mean. At the time, the low was right here, right at this point. So when this went into the bull zone right here, this was the previous shallow fib at 2531. And as you can see, it was testing as resistance. So even though it went into the bull zone, no momentum, didn't have 3 settles above that previous shallow fib, so no buy. It was saying, false positive, still going lower. So now when you drag this back down to where the low is today, this is where the previous shallow is now, the shallow fib is now. So even if this goes into the bull zone, for this to establish a new bullish trend, it's got to get 3 settles above this, according to my system. Now, there's other things that you could probably be looking at to get in earlier than that. But the way I look at things, I'm not buying this 4-hour until it gets back above this. And then people will say, well, why don't you buy it early? Well, it's the conservative in me that says I'd rather lose out that first third of the movement and be really, really certain of the higher probability that the trend is in. So I have a much a higher probability of not losing. It's just a higher probability trade. Now I might not be getting the exact low, but if you get in and that trend's established and you get those tree settles and then it goes off to the races, then I'm just be a lot more comfortable, with that trend being established that way. Just my way of trading. It's not financial advice or anything like that. It's just more along the lines of I just lean toward more high probability trades instead of trying to find the exact lows and highs and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So all about the trend. It's all trend following and all that kind of stuff. So that's 4 hour. Daily actually hit the target on the downside here in the bear zone if you're trading it. And again, I didn't buy it because the weekly's in the bear zone, which I didn't have my weekly up here, but let me pull up my weekly just so I can show you what I'm looking at here. Here we go. Because the weekly on this one, went into the bear zone here, and the target for this is way the hell down here.
I mean,
it's ugly. So I don't want to touch it until this thing starts to get back, kind of going again, really. So since this one's in the bear zone, that's what's negated me from even doing anything. But if you are trading it without looking at it like that, it did hit this target right here. So if you did buy, the shallow fib here at 2504 would be the sell if you want to trade it while in the bear zone, because getting up to 2504 is still well below the 2661 to get us into the bull zone. And then again, if this goes into the bull zone, it would have to have 3 settles above the 2504 anyway, and then finally hopefully break the trend line and then starting to take off from there. But given with Ethereum, that's kind of what's happening. Other than that, it's not. The only positive that I see that's happening on this is that the support points of my model is being hit with buying interest. So that's the key to me. So even though I'm not trading, it's giving me confidence that the bull and bear zones are playing the way they should, and that's good for me when it comes to my model. So I got to look at the positive on this. So I can't really do anything with it. Besides sit back and watch it, but at least it gives me time to kind of step back, look at my model. Is it working right? That kind of thing. And since it's hitting pretty nicely on these targets, which that target came from a threshold break right here, is where it was at the point in time. It kind of comes, you kind of get it from this trend line break here, basically. You're breaking this trend line. Basically, you're breaking this trend line here, and this is kind of the start of that move, and that's where that came from. So people always like, well, where'd that line come from? No, I'm just kidding. But there's always a reason. I don't put lines just to put lines. There's there's something in history for a reason, but that's where it hit, and hopefully some people are making a little bit of this, by buying it. But that's Ethereum. Let's go on to gold. Woo! Made some good money in gold. Bull zone hit. Target hit inside the zone here on the high here. I had a target at 3,007 is where the target was inside the zone, and it comes with the daily here because this daily trend-based extension that I was watching had 307 as a target, which also hit. So we had the bull zone on the daily, with the nice trend line break, with a retest, took off. Now we had a lot of waiting period in here, kind of came back down, hit the shallow fib, and if people wanted to buy, they could buy again. And then finally went back up and hit the target. So it was a lot of waiting in here to see if we were going to get up here and hit the target. So right now I'm flat on gold on both time frames. We went into the bull zone, hit the target. So I'm waiting for the shallow fib here at 2980 to buy back in. And then the next target for me, since this one already hit inside the fib extension level, is this trend line break. Furthest point to the line, take that same rate of change. That'll be my target, which is at 3,042. So if I get bought in at 2980, that will be the next look I'll be looking at for gold on the 4 hour. And then when you flip over to gold on the daily, this hit right here, the shallow fib right here is at 2891. If it wants to retrace back, which that'd be a pretty good retracement, but we'll see if that happens. So the other way of doing things, because a lot of people ask, what if it doesn't go to the shallow fib? If it doesn't retrace back and you don't get filled, but the trend continues? What I do on these is this 3019 on this 141%. If we get 3 4-hour candle settlements above this, that would be a buy signal while with the trend continuing, with the 200% at 3076 being a target. So if this fails to buy here and then it continues up, 3 settles. Now this target would not come into play because most likely you're going to be too close. It would be like, okay, I bought and then sold. It'd be a waste of time. But this target is mainly if the shallow fib comes down and buy, that would be my next target. So negating that, if we get 3 settles above the 141, then 3076 becomes the target. And then the same thing here. If we get 3 settles above this trend-based extension here, then not this target, because this target's going to be based on buying this shallow fib here, then that would be your next target. But if this one gets 3 settles above it, it's going to be looking at this one at 32.95 as your next target. So there are a couple targets on here. Just depends on which way you get filled. If you get the shallow fib, this is your target. If you get the 3 settles here, this is your target. That's kind of the way I do things on my stuff. So it gets a little confusing and kind of jumbles up a lot of stuff sometimes. But if you want to continue trend and you fail to get the shallow fib and you want exposure, that's a way of getting it based on my system. That's gold, and made some money on silver too.
Silver, man, silver been looking good. Yeah.
Yeah. This one was patience for sure. Went into the bull zone back here and then up, down, up, down, up, down. And it was just a lot of movement in this consolidation, but it finally started to break. I actually put a message out on Twitter a couple of days ago going, oh, it's starting to look good. And then it started, and then it cranked up and got the target hit. But same thing here is shallow fib is 33.60. If it wants to retrace back, I'll buy more. But then again, if it doesn't want to come back and retrace, 3 settles above 34.65 on this would be a buy, with the 200% at 36.96 being a target. So just looking for a retracement to buy back, or buying on the movement of the trend continuing. Still a lot of room on the bull zone here. RSI is only, it's at 60. It's above 60 there, but it's still got a lot of room to go based on historical. So hopefully I get down here and get filled back in and start taking off a little higher. But that's gold and silver. Everything looking pretty good on the metals. The dollar, haven't been really trading it, but it's been in the bear zone for a while here. Got even oversold and still said nah. Even with the RSI moving up here, all the way back up to this point, and this thing just not doing anything, I don't like it at all.
I think it's going for the yearly pivot, man. It's a bit lower there, 102 and some change, I think is where it's headed.
Yeah, I have a target here. I wouldn't even buy that target, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just by the way things are looking. I'm not trading it, so I haven't really put targets in on here. But if this ends up hitting here, you're looking at, let me see if it matches up with what you have. I'm just eyeballing this right now. I'd have to look at some numbers. But if you look at this here, and then you look at the extension, and there's the start of your threshold right there. So you're looking at, what are we looking at? Right there, you're looking at 170 or 100.7, as that's where I would actually even consider buying this, because I think this thing can really drop to the downside here. And another thing I could look at just to see if there's some confluence, my threshold here on the break, take the trend-based extension off of this, and just say, oh, got to click it first. I didn't get it right. I'm just eyeballing it. 100.47. Well, it's not quite there. Let me get it to the low. 100.25, 100.25, and then 100, and then 100 point whatever this line was, 100.7. Yeah. That's the only place I'd even consider buying this thing at the moment. It's right around that century mark. But that's dollar ugly. It's just really weird on how much this RSI moved up, and this thing just did not move at all. Just consolidated in this crap. So I don't like it. I still pretty bearish on the dollar. So all you inverse proportionate people between the dollar and Bitcoin that like to do with the with those kind of what's the word I'm looking for, Chris? What is that called? Inverse correlation.
Correlation. Okay, I wasn't sure.
I think I might need more coffee or something. Yeah, inverse correlation. So if the dollar is going down this hard, hopefully Bitcoin starts to go back up. That kind of thing. I haven't checked the correlation on that lately. I don't even know if it still exists.
Dude, if you were long the euro, last week and this week. Last week, I think alone it was up like almost 5%.
Wow.
This is insane, man. Yeah, it was like such a great long trade last week.
Yeah,
and I thought, I thought we might get a pullback this week, and it just continued to grind and push higher. As you saw with, with the DXY here, just continued to just not give itself much of a bounce at all.
Yeah, no, I'm right with you. Yeah, it's just an ugly picture at the moment. And another thing is like, this is the start of a nice little bull run here. Yeah, we had a few little, dips in here, but this whole bull run. So if you look at this as a whole, I don't even know where this ends up. Let me see. So if you start at the break of this threshold all the way up to the high, give it now, screw it. The 61.8% level here at 104.23. We're underneath this, and we had the three settles under it. So a lot of times when you get that, you got a high probability that it goes to a full retracement. And that's going to be right down there too. So I don't like it. I mean, I could be wrong and it could rally on out of here, but I don't like the way it's looking.
I've been saying for a while, that I think it's a large multi-year kind of expanded flat there. And so for me, I think I've got it heading down to the 90s, man, down to the low 90s at least.
Yeah, I would not be surprised. Let's move on to SPY. This is another one that, it's just been so bearish since it went into the bear zone here. Now the first place you could have bought it was in this. This is your first line of defense, which said, nah, it just went straight through it. So if you ended up, trying to buy it right here on this candle, you got stopped out pretty quick.
Yeah.
And took your lickings. Unfortunately, I was, kind of on vacation and not even looking at this, so I was fine with that. So the next thing is I've been looking at this level down here at 54.51 as the 200% as a target for me to consider going long, or if this thing gets back into a bull zone. But this has to get back into the bull zone, and we have to get three settles above this level of 57.41. So even though if this clicks bull, you can front run it if you want, but I'm still waiting for more downside on that. So in other words, I'm kind of in the back seat, not really doing much with this one anymore at the moment. And then even on the daily has this lower target in here at the 54.51. They're kind of the same because it's been kind of the pretty large move to the downside on both time frames. So I'm waiting for the target down here at 54.51, which I would probably buy this one here, because this would probably push us into an oversold condition underneath the bear zone, which really hasn't happened much. So if it ended up dipping down below that and that target hit, I'd probably buy that at 54.51 on a daily basis and just kind of play that out and try to kind of what I'm doing on Bitcoin and building that foundation. And then I wouldn't really have a take profit. I would kind of start there. And then once it went into the bull zone and got the filtering of the three settlements above the shallow fib, and then I would press it. That's how I'd probably play it. If that happened, that would be a lot of money. But we'll see on how all that works out. So kind of backseat at the moment on SPY. Just waiting, just see if this hopefully this green candle starts to get us going. Otherwise, you're going to find selling interest is going to push us right back down overall. So we'll kind of keep an eye out for that. And then a couple individual stocks, MSTR and So MicroStrategies and Tesla. MicroStrategies, if you're trading it in the bear zone, the target here inside, I picked this little area right in here, just off of just trying to find a spot inside the fib extension zone here. Once this from the low to the high here, you get the break at this point. The extensions are the area to look for to buy. So I just looked at this spot right here as a target, and that target hit at 240.265 as a buy. We had one settle and then another one back up on that green candle. Had another one dip down below, but the green candle went there. Did not have 3 settles here either. So that target's sitting nicely as support. So I like that as a buy. If you're trading it, you probably would have sold it already. This would have been your trade because the shallow fib would be the take profit target while in the bear zone. Or again, if you wanted to build a foundation and once it gets bull zone, you would add to it and press that position. You could do that also. So right now that would have been a buy and a sell, but we'll kind of see where that's headed. But we are still in the bear zone on this on the 4-hour basis. So you kind of want to keep that in the back of your pocket that it is not bullish, from the overall standpoint, but it is trying to correct back to get back above the shallow fib. So if this goes bull, get 3 settles above that, we'll be golden. Buy it again, and take off and get some of these upside targets. When it comes to Tesla, same thing. The threshold target hit in the bear zone, came down, target hit, had 1, 2, third settle was back above it. I like this. I like the support that we're seeing here also. So the buy here would be, the sell would be 277. So you're buying it at 242, and then your sell would be 277. So that'd be a nice little trade if you want to play it while in the bear zone or buy it and wait for the bull zone. Either way, but I like how the support points that I'm finding for my thresholds are finding some buying interest. I like it. So to me, thresholds are all about measuring where the psychology is the greatest, or at least where it matches the price point where those psychology changes happen. So even though it came all the way down to this point, I'm probably 1 or 2 of only people in the world that probably looked at that point as a start for your fib. Maybe I'm sure there's others, but it's just a weird spot to start your fib, and then came back down, tested right there, and then took off on the bull zone here. But now we're in the bear zone and working that way. So both of them looking pretty good, pretty supportive. Definitely not running not running to the upside because we're both in the bear zone. So you always want to kind of keep that in your back pocket that, yes, we've bought, but it's really not bullish just yet. And then again, I had a lot of requests for this MSTR, basically just comparing MSTR and Tesla and just looking at that spread. So if you're looking at it from a spread standpoint of which one's going to win out over the other, it looks like MSTR has got a little edge on this because when you look at look at it from this formula here, as this moves up, that means MicroStrategies is moving up at a higher rate than Tesla is.
Yeah.
And right now we're in the bull zone for this movement to the upside. Went into the bull zone, came back down, retested the shallow fib here. And then, so this has a target up here at 128, which means that looking at this here, this should move up a lot quicker. And you can already see it a little bit. You bought in and it's already hit the shallow fib. And in this case, it's already hit and it's not close to the shallow fib yet. So MicroStrategy is moving at a better rate than Tesla is at the moment, which is a good sign for Bitcoin, I would think. Based on, basically MicroStrategies is Bitcoin anymore. So that right there is also another good signal for me to give me confidence on my 4-hour and my daily buys that I'm buying while in the bear zone for Bitcoin at this point in time, along with the weekly support and all that kind of stuff. So even when you look at it from a MicroStrategy standpoint, it's starting to move a little bit better than some of these other tech stocks going forward. So that gives me a little support on Bitcoin too. So
Yeah.
That's what I got for charts at the moment. Unless you want me to pull something else up, that's what I got.
Not unless somebody else got something they want you to pull up. I don't know, man. Alts are, kind of just
Boring.
they look ugly, but looking ugly, they could be setting up a base with maybe one more potential push lower. So it's really kind of, almost just kind of to kind of pull up alts, right? Until we get some real kind of movement out of them.
Yeah, like I'm taking Solana as my first shit coin that I would kind of look at, and bear zone. I got a target down here. It hasn't hit the target on the downside, and when you look at a lot of these, that's what the picture looks like. I'm waiting for this, further movement to the downside to even consider buying in a bear zone, because just not pretty. And so I'm just kind of on the back seat on a lot of these alts. There's not much to really do unless you're playing the short side. I mean, I don't play the short side unless I've never played the short side on alts. But like on BTC, if the weekly goes bear, then I start looking at shorts. Or I don't really short it. I buy puts. So I would look into buying puts to the downside. So it's all about capital preservation for me. I don't want to sell my Bitcoin, so I'd rather just buy puts to protect that. So if it does end up dropping out, I would grab the profit from the puts on that and then try to reestablish a low and get long again, that kind of thing. But let's hope we don't have to do that, because I've traded options for years. I'm just not a big fan anymore. It's a young man sport. That's what got me all gray, when you trade all those options as a young guy. Thinking that you're this stud making all this great money off these moves. I can't handle the option market. My heart can't handle it anymore. It's a whole different world. And it
really is. Yeah.
I remember trading at the pit at CME when I was, younger. And the option guys were just ruthless. Those guys would just eat you up because they were just so good at what they did.
Yeah.
And unless you know that world, it's
definitely a lot different than
a tough one
than what we're talking about here for the most part. Yeah, there's so many other things involved with the time decay and all that other fun stuff. And people, every year you've been with me, man. You're like me. We've been around a long time, and every so there's always a new greatest thing, right? And so options are making their play out again since really the last couple of years, since everybody was stuck at home for COVID. And it's just. It's just the thing it does. If you guys are ever around long enough, you'll know what we're talking about. Every so often, something old becomes new again. Everybody gets excited about it, and then that dies out, and then a little bit longer goes on, and then something again comes up, and so the options play out every I don't know, probably decade or so, maybe. People get overly excited about them.
Yeah, the buzzword right now that I'm hearing, just like listening out on different spaces and stuff. I don't really talk a lot on spaces, but I like to hear what other people are saying just for kicks and giggles. What is it? The professional, the perpetual preferred stuff going on. Oh my gosh, just stop already. I mean, seriously, these perpetual preferreds and all these yields are great. Whatever, but those are not new. But it's like this big buzzword right now because I think everybody's like bored trying to figure out, Bitcoin's going down. I got to figure something else out.
Yeah.
But now they're looking at these preferreds. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, if you're a finance guy and you really understand how they work and you understand the yields that you can get with them, yeah, go with it. But unless you're in the field and you understand that stuff, I wouldn't touch them with the 10-foot.
Well, that was what I was about to say a minute ago. Is a lot of these young people today are getting into like options and and getting these more complex things, which actually use math, right? And what I'm finding is a lot of these people are getting into this aren't actually all that happy with math. They didn't enjoy math when they were in school. They don't enjoy math now, but they're getting into these complex financial products that are based in math. And I'm just like, don't do it. You know, it's like that thread I posted recently, which, by the way, guys, if you're not following me, you should be. TX West Capital on Twitter, and you can follow Fibbo at Fibbo Swanee. He's got it right there on his thing. But I posted a thread about how traders tend to jump from system to system rather than actually learning the system and becoming good at it. They give it a little try, half-ass it, whatever. They move on to the next one. You know, they think if only I can find that one perfect system that's going to make me rich, and that isn't how it works. And so when you look at things like options coming out, and the interest in options, and then the interest in the prefers, like it's just another version of that. It's another version of, if only I can find the right strategy that'll make me rich. And really, it's all about your execution. I've said it before. I've spent so much money over the last 30 years because, again, you guys know my story. When I finally decided, listen, I'm going to get serious about this, I had to get serious about it, right? I had to get serious about what was going on and taking it seriously. And so my idea was to go out there and start learning as much as I could about markets and systems that people are trading. And so I've spent a whole bunch of money over the years buying all these different ones. And most of them actually end up working, but it is the person doing it. It's you who's the problem, right? Your inability to understand your emotions and deal with that, your inability to understand, trader psychology and what's going on, your inability to stick to the system itself. It's really about you. You're the problem that keeps you from being successful. It's not usually the system. So just something to kind of think about there, guys. If you find yourself, if you're honest with yourself, you look back and go, yeah, I've been jumping from system to system, hoping to find something that's going to make me, rich. Really, it's your lack of you is what it is. That's causing that.
Yeah. And I'm not saying perp prefers are bad. I mean, if you understand them, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of good opportunity there. I'm just like, it's just not a good spot to start.
Exactly.
Yeah. You got to really understand them. But somebody in the chat said, "Do you chart Doge?" So I'll just show it real quick since I don't. I mean, I just updated it. It wasn't much. Still bear zone. So same kind of thing as Solana in the bear zone. It did rally up here and it tried to get into the bull zone, but did not. Barely. It barely almost got back, but did not. Worked its way down. Targets all the way down. I mean, all the way down to this threshold here at 0.106. We're at 0.172 right now. So shallow fibs way high. Just a lot of the alts have this kind of picture. And I really don't like it because when you look at it a little bit longer term, you look at the weekly, and I haven't even updated the weekly here. It did go into there was a bear zone and went into the bull zone right here, and it took off and it hit the target within the zone, which was nice. And then it started to come down. Now we're this is a weekly, so when the weekly goes into the bull zone or in the bear zone like this, that's not good. So I don't want to touch any of this stuff. So when you look at it from, I'm just going to update it real quick here, but like now that we're in this bear zone, this is what happens. You're looking at this one right here is going to become your previous threshold here. I'll just put this off to the left so you can see it. And then this is going to be your next target down here, which is at 0.109, just like that on the or this one's 106 on the daily on that threshold. So you got a 10 or let me move this over here so you can see it. So basically, this is going to be where your target's going to be. Ah, dang it. There we go. Now it's not really target hit. It's more along of just a target. So that's where your thing's going to be. And then of course you're going to have to set the fibs, which would be right here at your start down to this point. And then I'm just showing you kind of the stuff that I like to play around with on here. And then move this over to the right. And then you got your shallow fib sitting right now at about 0.18, which is kind of testing as resistance at the moment. But this going into the bear zone, not pretty. And that's why I would not even look to even consider anything until it got down to this target. And I wouldn't even have a limit order. This would be more of a, just a watch and see. So as this kind of comes down to this point, and if it does hit that target, then I would kind of open up and do some analysis to see if it's even worth it, or if it's going much further lower than that. So there's Doge. Thought I'd throw that in there since I saw it in the chat as I looked over there real quick.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing we've been talking about a bit with our students there at the Trading Academy, is this idea that it looks like we could get one more lower low for alts. And at this point now, it's just about kind of waiting for your setup, right? I mean, you shouldn't be so bored or so upset that it's come down that you're just jumping in because there's a chance. You want to wait for what you're looking for, and so what does that mean? Well, as a trader, before you should have a system that you use, right? A strategy, and that should have rules. And before you enter a trade, all your rules should be ticked. All your, whatever the things that you have to have happen to say you're going to enter a trade needs to do it. Too many times traders get really bored and whatnot with it. And then they're like, oh, well, I've got 5 rules here. 3 of them hit, so I'm going to go ahead and get in. And they're like, oh, I'm going to trust my gut. Guys, listen, I've been doing this 30 years. I don't trust my gut. I do not trade on my gut. My gut has shown me time and time again that it can be that it can, be wrong. And it's too much. It's too much. So, I kind of, whatever system I'm trading, I stick to the rules of the system and I don't worry about it. The same thing Fibbo was talking about earlier with his system. Well, why don't you get in earlier? Why don't you do this? Well, because my system doesn't say to do that. My system is set up to give me a little bit more confirmation, even though nothing's guaranteed, but it's going to give me a bit more confirmation before I get in, and, if you're always like, oh, well, why don't you get in sooner? Or why don't you get out later? You have to look at why are you saying that? And most of the time it's an emotional response. And if you're trading on emotions, the likelihood is you're going to lose money. And it's a significant likelihood. So, have a system that you guys have that you're going to employ. If you don't know how to do that, guys, join us. Texas West Capital. Like I said, you can get in for $97 a month right now. Get out whenever you want. You can stop after a month if you want. We're not going to hold you in there. We're not going to try and convince you to stay. But come in, start learning, what's important and why it's important and how to create a system. And then stick to your system. Stick to the rules of your system. I mean, I can't say it enough because, again, you could have the greatest system in the world. And if you don't figure out your emotions and all that other stuff on it, you're not going to stick to the system anyway.
Yeah. And one thing I like to see is different people in the groups actually taking my system. I'm sure you have guys that do the same thing with your stuff. They take what we have as our system and they actually adapt it to things that they understand and they're experts about, and they kind of adapt their own. And I think that's cool. Because I get a lot of questions like, well, have you ever looked at this? And I'm like, well, actually I haven't looked at that, but there's many that I have looked at and tested, but some people come up with really cool ideas. I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. And if it's back tested and it works, shit, go for it.
Yeah, exactly, guys. Listen, here's the thing. What you're going to find, I got specific ways I tend to trade. I don't just trade straight up Elliott Wave or Wyckoff or whatever, right? I use influences from both of those in the way I trade, and the price action and everything. Fibbo has his system, which he uses, which other people aren't doing, right? What you find out is once you start becoming a successful trader, which means you really start learning about yourself, you take systems and you adapt them, like Fibbo was saying, to you. And that's the goal. We don't want you just to blindly forever follow whatever system we're using. If you want to, that's great, but you're going to have more success down the road, taking something from that and maybe something from something else, or just completely adapting that system to you, because every single one of us is different. We all have different goals. We all have different, short, long, and midterm goals. We all have different wealth positions right now and goals as far as wealth goes. We all have different availability throughout the week that we can trade. We also have different availability that we actually want to trade. And so all these things go into defining who you are as a trader and investor. And if you are not asking yourself these questions, and by the way, we all have, how risk adverse or how risk tolerant are we? Phil and I tend to be a bit more risk adverse, but you may be a bit more risk tolerant. So as you learn who you are as a trader or investor, that enables you to take these systems and these strategies and start adjusting them for you to what works best for you. And that's the goal. That's the goal at the end of the day.
Yep.
We're teaching you, listen, this is how you can do this system. I'll teach you how to do other systems. It's fine. But at the end of the day, we're also going to talk about how we view things and why did, for me, instance, why do I do it differently than the way other people do? Why do I use RSI a bit differently than the way most people do? Because I found for me, it makes a lot more sense for me to look at the way I look at it. And so if you haven't figured that out yet, y'all, make sure you figure that out. Because when you start to understand, you ask the hard questions and you're honest with yourself about, your income, your current income level, your future short, mid, long-term income goals, your current wealth position, your future short, mid, and long-term wealth goals. If you're really risk tolerant or risk adverse, how much time do you actually have to trade during the week? And then how much time do you actually really want to trade? And you have to make sure it actually fits in. You could want to trade 20 hours a day, but if you only have 3 hours a day to actually trade, you see how it's not going to you have to understand who you are. But once you start doing that, and then you start learning trading and markets and strategies, then you start finding out, well, I'm going to finesse this a little bit because it makes more sense to me, this. And that's what you'll notice. And so what you'll notice is professional traders, those of us that have been doing this for many, many years successfully, we've got our own way of looking at things. And that's your goal. All right. So hopefully you guys understand that. Man, oh man, appreciate having you here, man. It's been a while. Glad to have you back.
Yeah, it's fun.
I guess we'll try again in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah. Yep. I'm back to my normal schedule now. It was kind of crazy there for a little bit.
Well, some of us don't take vacations. I mean, I'm just saying,
Yeah. You will soon. You'll take a vacation.
Maybe one day, right? Anyway, hey, listen, guys. Hopefully y'all enjoyed Fibbo. As always, follow him at Fibbo Swanny, FIBOSWANNY on X, Twitter there. Follow me, TX West Capital. Again, join us at TexasWestCapital.com. $97 a month right now until that price is about to go up here. We're finally going to raise it since we're adding the live trading in there with it as well now. I discussed that at the beginning here, so if you missed it, roll back to the beginning of the stream and you'll learn a little bit more about that. But yeah, and I'll be focusing on helping y'all understand prop firms and how to trade them, because it's so much different than what you normally trade with your money, because they're so stringent on their rules, and how you have to approach it. I'll show you guys a few systems to trade it, everything else. So
yeah.
Anyway, there you go.
What time frame are you doing again on the trading?
You mean what time I'm going to be doing the training, or
no. What time frame are you trading in the 1 minute? The 1 minute?
The 1 minute. Yeah.
See, I've never taken my system and tried to look at it from a minute basis. I
was thinking about that just yesterday. I was wondering if you'd ever maybe.
I've done down to like a 30-minute chart and stuff like that. I've never done like really, really, really fast stuff like that. I might piss around with it, see what happens.
Hey man, that'd be cool. Everybody be like, hey, wait, what?
Yeah.
But anyway,
I might mess around with that.
See, all I have to do is talk about it around Fibbo, and he wants to get involved. See, guys, see how easy this is? Anyway, we'd love to have you there, honestly, guys. Our goal is to help you guys become better traders. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is. And we're serious about it. And, we didn't just start yesterday. We're old guys with gray beards, and we've been around, 20, 30 years in the markets, each of us. And, we figured out what works. And the reason I brought Fibbo in is because he understands and he views markets the same way I do. We approach them a little bit differently, but our view starts from social mood. It moves on us. We have the basis of our thinking starts in the same place, which means I can trust him to talk with you guys without violating whatever whatever way that I view the markets. And, consistency is important when you're in there. So anyway, we'd love to have you there. Get in while you can, $97 a month, stick in 1 month, do 12 months, whatever you want to do, guys. But again, you're going to get access to everything that I teach, get access to everything Fibbo teaches. You're going to get the live trading now that you can jump in and do with me. And I've got some resources. So we have a success coach that I had a mentor program for a couple of years here that I did. And we had a success coach that I brought in monthly to help understand that success is the product of a system, right? You can be successful, not just to trade anything you do, but you have to put in the time to understand that you need to create a system for, right? Anyway, she's really great with success, with accountability, with stuff like that. So I'm joining her into creating a resource that she's going to run, but we're going to provide access with y'all that are in the group coaching to access that. And it's going to have a lot of information about creating success, about dealing with emotions, about all the psychological stuff, a lot of things there. And I think she's going to do like a weekly live stream with y'all as well, with a certain topic, about this kind of stuff. Because at the end of the day, and Fibbo will tell you right here, you have to get the emotions thing figured out. You have to get this idea in your head that success comes from systems. You have to get out of the single trade that you're in as being the end all be all and focusing just on the profit. And you need to instead understand that your profit's going to come as a result of a good system. Yep. Again, I'm just continuing to put more and more stuff out there to help you guys get more successful, to help you, really understand what it means to create success as a trader. So that's the goal. That's the goal.
And really just understanding how markets work in general. I mean, that's a key right there.
Exactly. Oh, by the way, look, here she is. There she is right there. You can follow her, Cecilia. You can follow her. Gosh, Cecilia, if you could just drop your Twitter handle real quick. I think it's like Cecile _ something like that. I mean, y'all follow her on there as well. She's got a newsletter she puts out every week with a short little information in it. Great stuff that'll really help you, especially if you struggle.
I mean, a lot of people ask me for book recommendations and those kind of things, and I tend to lean toward books that talk about psychology and emotions and how to hold them. It's those books are better. Anybody can read a trading book and figure that out. It's the psychology side that's important. So definitely hit her up if you have any questions for sure. Because that's
And speaking of what you just said there, of what you said, I mean, like, look, I've got one here. I've got best loser wins, while normal thinking never wins the trading game.
There you go. I never read that one. Interesting.
Trading for a living. You got that there?
Yeah.
I mean, these are great books, guys.
I got that book.
Do you?
Yeah.
It's a good book, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. So, again, I got a few others here. I can't find all of them, but so listen, if I'm thinking that, and if Fibbo's thinking that, then, maybe, just maybe there's a little something to it. In that way, guys, listen, we just want you to be successful. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. Okay. So, by the way, if you're looking for, Cecilia, it looks like she may have missed me there, but this is her on Twitter. I'm going to post it in there for you guys. Give her a follow. So much great information that she does. And I'm going to show it over here for y'all. There it is. @_CECILI_A. She couldn't do something simple, could she? But hey, anyway.
Yeah, you won't remember that one, just like you never remember Tillman's.
Hey, I finally got it figured out. Like around 30, maybe 25, 30 weeks into the Beards and Bitcoin show, I finally got it down. So, Tillman's. But anyway, hey, listen, man, loved having you here as always. It was good to have you back. Hey, y'all, have a great Friday, a great weekend. Trade safe. Remember, the only thing you control is how much you lose. So please keep working on that risk management. And, man, join us. Do it. Just do it.
Just do it.
TexasWestCapital.com. We'd love to have you there, guys. Say hi, okay? Have a great
right.
weekend. Trade safe, folks.
Thanks.
See you later. Take care.